The Trump campaign is filing many lawsuits. One of the latest is an allegation that voters were disenfranchised, people who don't live in Nevada are voting, and that they believe votes were cast in dead people's names. My friends, I have no idea what's going to happen, but this is the nightmare scenario. And I'll tell you why. First, it's a nightmare scenario for all of us in this country. We're seeing the fissure that has been growing for quite some time be finished off, split. Two different land masses have emerged. You either agree that the election was good or you agree that the election is bad. In my personal opinion, I believe Donald Trump should fight to the very bitter end because we have to make sure that every avenue was approached. And if Trump wins, then we can see, okay, we went this way. We did investigations. We did an audit. We found out Trump really won. There you go. Unfortunately, I believe the left would not accept that. And if Trump ends up getting a victory in the courts, it'll end up being really bad no matter what. But if we do nothing, then you have 68 million people completely disenfranchised, seeing videos of just insane things. One of the lawsuits we have right now that Donald Trump has received a victory on is in Pennsylvania. Poll watchers, tabulation count watchers should be able to go and watch the votes get counted. The only problem is that they're reporting now they're still not being allowed, even though the court ruled this. We're getting some back and forth information. Apparently, NBC has reported that a judge has overturned this. Now they're saying it's fake news. And that's the other reason this is a nightmare scenario. I think our country is in for very serious. It's going to be an awful couple of months, I tell you what. But you know what the problem for me is? There's no certainty. You know, I can read the New York Times and NBC, and I can get two different versions of reality. And when I'm trying to break down what is or isn't happening, it's very, very difficult. Believe it or not, I'm very critical of the mainstream media, but I still do rely on them. I just cross-reference. And at a time like now, when I'm seeing NBC News say one thing, Politico say another, I don't know what is happening. Now, of course, Fox News has been reporting things that fly in the face of what people have seen and what they know. Notably, Nate Silver has called on Fox to retract their call for Arizona, but I want to highlight just one instance, and then we'll start reading through this stuff. And man, it's messed up out there. Fox News had a reporter say that the Trump campaign has said there's fraud in Nevada and they're going to be suing, and they've presented no evidence, says Fox News, which is wrong. They did. We can see the video, and I'm quite sure Fox News actually aired the video of a woman. I believe, yes, Fox News aired a woman saying that her mail-in ballot was missing, and they claimed she had already voted when she didn't. This is just one story, but if there are many stories like this, then Nevada could be up in the air. I don't know what to tell you, man. If Trump wins through the courts, the left is going to light everything up, and if Trump doesn't get a hard-fought battle to verify, then the right is not going to believe it, and we are seeing, like I said, for a long time, the polarization has been deepening in this country. A fissure has been growing, splitting these two land masses. And election day, that was the day it split. We are now desperately trying to make sure we can hold this together and make sure the polarization doesn't become completely unrepairable. But I believe that's it. I feel like I could see the dominoes falling for quite some time. I don't see a way out of this. I'm sorry. But let's read the story, and I'll tell you what's going on with the latest news and accusations of dead people voting. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. There are many ways you can give. There's a P.O. box if you want to send some stuff. But the best thing you can do is share this video if you think I do a good job and my news reporting and commentary is rational and reasonable and you think it helps, please consider sharing. It also helps support my channel when you do. But don't forget, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Here's the first story we have from the Daily Mail. Nevada election result is delayed with just 200,000 votes left to count as Biden's lead increases to 11,500 and Trump sues, claiming tens of thousands were cast in dead people's names. Officials had expected to give a result on Thursday, but Clark County, where Las Vegas is and where there are more than 1.9 million people, said it had 51,000 votes that would not be counted until tomorrow. Biden is leading in Nevada, but only by 11,545 votes, which is around 1%. If he claims the state today, he will win another 6 electoral college points, giving him 270 when factoring in the 11 that come from Arizona. However, I got to stop and say, Arizona didn't go Biden. This was wrongly called, and the pollsters, for all of their faults, are seemingly saying not called yet. More importantly, I have the New York Times. They have not called Arizona. Okay, so if you want to go by AP and Fox News, fine, go do it. But the New York Times, many outlets, including 538, they are saying no. In fact, Nate Silver of 538 has called on Fox and the AP to retract their calling of Arizona for Joe Biden. So as of right now, be wary. If Joe Biden wins Nevada, he may declare victory prematurely. My friends, I really do think this may become a Trump victory in the courts. House delegations are on Trump's side, and the Supreme Court may very well be on Trump's side, at least 5-4. They say Arizona was called for him on Wednesday morning by Fox and the AP, but with 450,000 votes still outstanding, it remains in play for Trump. If Biden loses Arizona, he has 259 electoral college votes. He did another 11 from either Georgia, which holds 16, North Carolina, which holds 15, or Pennsylvania, which holds 20 to win. Arizona will not finalize its results until tomorrow, nor will Pennsylvania and Georgia is expected by the end of the day. Nor will Pennsylvania and Georgia is expected by the end of the day. It's unclear when North Carolina will announce, but is expected to go to Trump as it did in 2016. The race in Nevada has been tight for most of the morning. Biden led by around 7,000 votes. Officials had hoped to deliver results at noon, but the deadline came and went. Now it's unclear when they will report one. The race could narrow enough to prompt network decision desks and the AP to call the state for him before officials do. However, with previous states like Arizona thrown into doubt and with tensions simmering across the country over just how close the race is, it is impossible to tell when it will be called. Trump's team used the gap to file a lawsuit to halt the vote, alleging widespread voter fraud. They say they have evidence that tens of thousands of votes have been cast fraudulently. Quote, "We are confident that when all legal votes are tallied, and only legal votes are tallied, President Trump will win the state of Nevada," former Director of National Intelligence Rick Grenell told Fox News on Thursday morning. Now, they gave a press conference, as you can see. Included in the press conference was a woman who says that her mail-in ballot, she never received it. Someone took it. And when she went to go vote, they told her that she had already voted. She said that's not true and that there are potentially more people who are like this. Now, Daily Mail goes on to say, the reality is transparency is not political. Ballots are not automatically legal votes unless they're checked. We are not being able to check. There's a 30-day residency requirement in the state of Nevada. If you haven't been in the state for 30 days, it is illegal to vote. We are filing this federal lawsuit to protect legal voters. It is unacceptable in this country to have illegal votes counted. That is what's happening in the state of Nevada, Grenell claimed at a press conference. Nevada law states that to be eligible to vote, a person has to have been a resident of the state for at least 30 days before the election. That does not necessarily mean that they have to have been physically in the state for 30 days preceding the election. I got to say, I think it's actually a fairly weak argument from Trump's camp. I believe they should make every argument possible, and the Democrats are going to need to win this one, and I think it's going to go to legalities. But I think if you've got people who no longer have a residence in Nevada and then voted in Nevada, then I believe we've got issues. If you've got people who have an apartment and have just been out of state, that's not an argument. There are a lot of people who live places. Look, I'll tell you this. When I used to work for Vice, there were periods where I wouldn't be back at my apartment for months traveling for work. I do not believe that you can just claim that because they've been gone for 30 days, they no longer live there. We'll see how this plays out. Far be it from me. I am no legal expert. Trump's people also claim that many of the votes in Nevada come from people who no longer live there or were cast under the names of deceased people. Trump is also suing in Pennsylvania, where voting in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh was temporarily halted on Thursday because of his ongoing court battles. Michigan, which was called for Biden on Wednesday, and Georgia, where 60,000 votes remain uncounted. He is demanding a recount in Wisconsin, this we know. On Twitter, he fumed on Thursday morning, stopped the count, and said that no ballots cast after Election Day would be counted. Unfortunately for Trump, he's wrong there because they're doing it already. In fact, one observer in Georgia said someone came up with a stack of ballots and shuffled it in to existing ballots. I'm sorry, man. You can't have things like that because there's no way to rectify that. How do you go into a pile and say which ones were the ones they shuffled in? You can't. And they may have been falsely placed. Who knows? That's why I don't see a way out of this. I see the right saying it was fraudulent, but I don't know. Maybe we'll just get 4 years of the right saying Biden stole the election, whereas Democrats say Trump stole the election, and it'll be equally as painful. The only difference, I suppose, is that when the Democrats claimed that Trump colluded with Russia to steal the election, they had zero evidence. Literally none. There was just conjecture and conversations. We later went on to learn that it wasn't true. With the Republicans' claim, we actually do have a ton of videos and we have a bunch of strange things happening. And we also have Democrats trying to block people from observing the polls, the counting of votes, which is absurd. They say Trump performs better among in-person voters and Biden performs better in mail-ins. And if the Democrats, in my opinion, wanted to change the rules the 11th hour to mail-in voting, well, that's their fault, not anyone else's. The Trump campaign had a minor legal victory in Pennsylvania. Okay, let's do this. I do have a story from Politico talking about the legal victories and it's not being upheld. They mention people observing have to be within 6 feet, I guess, social distancing or whatever. Well, right now, poll watchers are saying they're not, it's vote count watchers, sorry. They're saying they're not letting us anywhere near it, so we can't tell what they're doing. You can't see anything. You don't know what they're looking at, where they're putting papers. There's a video going viral where a guy is counting votes and then he sits back and then he freaks out and then he crumples up a piece of paper and throws it in the trash. And people are like, what did he just discard? We don't know because we don't have poll watchers. And that means we are potentially looking. Look, I'll tell you what, if Joe Biden wins, he wins, man. I'll laugh. I'll have a good old time and I'll carry on with life like most people have said. But if you leave loose ends, you are going to get a bunch of people claiming Joe Biden stole the election, and it's going to be the most annoying thing in the world. I mean, I'll tell you what, it'd be worse if we don't get a clean investigation of what's going on, and then Joe Biden wins, and he may have actually cheated the election. I'm not entirely convinced, but I tell you what, man. Check this out. This is from Snopes. I am no fan of Snopes. They say, rumor alert, William Bradley and dead voters in Michigan. More evidence is required before this claim can be rated in a traditional Snopes fact check, but official sources have refuted it. Snopes is such a biased trash source, I tell you what. But I want to show this to break down what's happening. Fleckas, they say Austin Fletcher, a right-wing online activist who used the moniker Fleckas, he posted a video in which you can see someone named William Bradley, born in 1902, received an application, sent it in, got his ballot, filled out the ballot, and the ballot was received. Now, this is... according to Social Security data, this guy died in 1984. Many people are saying this is evidence. Deceased people are voting. And it lends evidence to the idea that Donald Trump is correct when they say they have evidence that dead people are voting. Now, what Snopes is saying, the claim has been refuted by official sources. Who are the official sources? Okay. I don't know if that's good enough. We need an investigation. It appears the claim is being shared widely by only one political faction. Of course it would be, because it benefits the right and it's bad for the left. The left would never be like, hey, look, here's something that hurts us. And of course, it was always going to be Republicans finding it. The claim offers only one explanation for apparent incident or phenomenon when other less sinister explanations are plausible. This I agree with. For all we know, someone actually responded to this saying that there is a son of the same name at the same address, potentially the same birth month, who received a mail-in ballot application but never sent it in, saying it's entirely possible that it was the son who received an application for his dad, but it was his name and he filled it out, not realizing it was the wrong one. That is a plausible explanation. Either way, it is not up for me to be like, oh, it's nothing, I'll ignore this. No. We're not playing that. Right now, what needs to happen is Donald Trump needs to explore every legal avenue, period. We cannot have a circumstance where loose ends are left lying about, and then we get another 4 years of he stole the election. That's it. I tell you what, though, if Trump wins in the courts, they're going to say he stole the election. So anyway, you get the point here. Snopes is saying it's a rumor. They can't confirm or deny, but they're leaning towards there must be something else. I think it's a fair point, but I don't agree. I can only say Snopes can't debunk this. They try to cast doubt on it, and that's fine. I'm showing you this because I want you to realize these things are happening. They're floating around. They need to be investigated. And our official fact checkers that are certified by everybody, Snopes, can't debunk it. They just cast doubt. I think that's fair. It's not been debunked yet. That's the important point. Now we have this video. Nevada voter Jill Stock on how her ballot was stolen. In this video, she says, it's from Team Trump. As I mentioned already, her mail-in ballot came in and someone took it. When she went to vote, they claimed she already voted and she has not been able to vote. What happens if we get thousands of stories like this? What do? I don't know. I don't know what we do. So that's why I'm saying the Biden team Biden's campaign needs to call for a hard investigatory body, a nonpartisan, independent third-party verification, investigation, whatever. Otherwise, it's going to be bad for this country. And I'm warning you now. However, I want to make sure I highlight John Ralston. He points out that Biden is up 11,400 in Nevada. Dems are going to win these mail ballots coming in election day and yesterday, 63,000. And they should win them decisively. That leaves 60,000 provisionals, which have been evenly split. I see no path left for Trump here. If they call Arizona for Biden, I believe the media will call the race for Joe Biden. And I also got to say, it does look like we're heading towards a Joe Biden victory. Trump is fighting every possible, avenue that he can. And I can respect it. Mike Cernovich, you may know him, Trump supporter, says, Trump must fight until January 20th. Demand audits in every district, cross-reference cemetery records and votes. It's all public now. Leave nothing on the court. Fight until the very end. I completely agree. You know why? I don't like conspiracies. I don't like people putting out things, look, Sharpie Gate. You may have seen Sharpie Gate. I got all these people saying like, I was in Arizona and they made me use a Sharpie. And that means my vote was disqualified. You don't know if your vote was disqualified. Days before the election, they put out notices saying, when you come to vote, we'll give you a Sharpie. That doesn't mean anyone's right or wrong, but I tell you, if you think they're playing dirty games, then why not any other county? Okay. In which case the whole thing is what? Bunk? Look, I don't know, man. I checked local sources. I checked fact-checking sources, which tend to be biased. And it seems like the Sharpie bleed through is not a big deal. That's what people are saying. Like you put the ink on the thing and then it bleeds through. I'm not a fan of conspiracy theories. Check your ballot with Arizona. It doesn't matter why. If it didn't get counted, make sure it gets counted. In fact, everybody watching, check your ballots. Make sure they were counted. We want a fine-tooth comb for this election. If Donald Trump was defrauded, then we should know. If Joe Biden won cleanly, then I would like to say to Republicans and conservatives, it's enough. We have the evidence. You lost. I can say we lost. I voted for him as well. I'm absolutely fine with losing. I just want to make sure it is done in such a clean manner that I can definitively tell people to chill out. Look, I went through Russiagate for 3.5 years and I entertained it. And then once it came out that it was bunk, I said, stop, it was bunk. You lost. We now have accusations of impropriety. The Trump campaign wants to sue. By all means, please do so. And I look forward to the day, assuming Trump is wrong, where all the Democrats get to say, aha, see, Trump was wrong. I'll clap for them. You're right. But thank you for allowing it to happen. So we got the transparency to say, here's the evidence that Trump lost. If Trump is correct, then I think the Republicans will agree. You would like an investigation. I got to be honest. Democrats are fighting this. And I think that's just going to do that's just, for some reason, Democrats are doing everything in their power to make sure that there's no honest investigation. Look, I'll tell you this. If you think Trump is wrong and there's no voter fraud, like Democrats have said, there's no reason to reject an investigation. There's no reason to reject an audit. If Trump tries to argue why certain votes should be disenfranchised, you argue back. You don't just say, I refuse to allow any challenge at all. We have a woman in a press conference saying her vote, she was disenfranchised. I thought the left said count every vote. Okay. If someone's mail-in ballot was taken from them and they didn't get to vote, they should be allowed to. This includes a lot of Latino voters and Native American voters, many who have maybe gone for Trump, as we've seen. I think we're going to get much too much from the Democrats arguing that we shouldn't be investigating. And I think that's the worst possible thing for this country. I got to say, I'll tell you what, the best possible thing for this country, in my opinion, would be if an investigation happened into all these claims, definitive evidence emerged showing little to no fraud. of the weird circumstances and people maybe throwing away ballots. Doesn't change much. And then Joe Biden gets to say, we won. It was clean. You got your investigation. I do not believe the right should be acting the way the left has been, because I've been complaining about the left for the past several years. They're screaming Russiagate over and over and over again, even though they've clearly lost, they won't stop. That's why I want it to be done with. Now, one of the big issues that we have in Democrats fighting back, they say, Harrisburg-based Commonwealth Court Judge Christy Cannon issued an order mandating that all candidates' watchers or candidate representatives be permitted to be present for the canvassing process and be permitted to observe all aspects of the canvassing process within 6 feet while adhering to all COVID-19 protocols, including wearing masks and maintaining social distancing, hence the 6 feet. We've already heard that the watchers are being pushed back 25 feet. So I'm worried, man. The Republicans are saying they're trying to steal the election. I'll tell you, I don't know. I don't. And nobody does. Right now, NBC and Politico and the New York Times, they're not giving us a single narrative. No one knows for sure. Everyone's publishing conflicting information. And that makes it really, really hard to cross-reference and figure out what is true and what isn't. In this case, I think our reality has fractured. We're in a breaking news situation where it's hard to know exactly what's happening. Trump, of course, is going to do everything in his power to try and win. I think he should. And now Trump is vowing to sue all of these states. They say Trump is taking action in Nevada, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. We should be getting information on who won in Georgia and North Carolina soon. I got the New York Times here. If Trump wins the states that he's currently leading in, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and then takes either Arizona or Nevada, Donald Trump wins. Right now, it is looking like if we continue on this current track, Trump will win Georgia, North Carolina, but he will lose Pennsylvania and Nevada. That means Trump will not have the votes required to win. And as I've done with all of the videos I've put out so far, because this is a breaking news situation, I'll tell you, it's really frustrating. I'll be completely honest. News is changing as I record this stuff, and I'm trying my best. But I want to make sure I can give you a breakdown. As of right now, if Trump wins in Pennsylvania, where he does have a decent lead, I think 1.8 points, but it is shrinking, North Carolina and Georgia, he will lose unless he can take Arizona or Nevada. His lawsuits may prevail in Nevada, which puts him at 272, meaning Trump wins. If Joe Biden takes Nevada, as John Ralston is suggesting, then Trump is at 266. He loses. If Arizona ends up flipping for Trump, then Trump will win with 277. Now, if Trump takes Arizona but ends up losing Pennsylvania, Joe Biden takes 281 and wins. What you need to understand, we have known this was a very strong possibility. The reason why I think we definitely need to investigate any and all fraud claims and litigate everything we can is because it must be done cleanly, and it aligns perfectly with our forecasts from the past. Moody's Analytics in 2019, September, put out a forecast saying Democrats win if turnout is high. House states will vote if non-incumbent turnout is historical maximum. We can see that they were actually expecting Trump to win in Arizona and Trump to lose in Pennsylvania. The map we are seeing from Moody's looks exactly like what is about to happen. That Wisconsin and Michigan go to Biden. They said Democrats at the time, they didn't know who the nominee was. Pennsylvania goes to Biden, but Trump wins in Georgia and North Carolina and Arizona. And they say the Democrats end up taking 279. Now, what in this turnout, in this map, they didn't do the breakdown for Nebraska, I suppose, and Maine. So it looks like, for whatever reason, the map isn't one for one, obviously, but it's looking very, very similar. They said at the time Trump was favored to win if vote turnout was average. We have always known a high voter turnout was good news for Democrats. I don't know what else to tell you. If there's fraud, there's fraud. I've called for the investigation, but I believe it will be incumbent upon Republicans, if they lose and if Trump loses, to lose with grace and dignity. I believe filing the lawsuits is still within the realms of grace and dignity. Putting up a fight to demand that all votes are counted accurately and fairly is appropriate. If it turns out that through an investigation, Donald Trump loses, then I think Republicans should just accept that they lost. We'll see what happens in the Senate. I am not enthused about the reality of Democrats taking everything. Perhaps we will end up with just Democrats taking the presidency. The House will remain where it is, and the Senate may remain Republican. But with mail-in votes, it's looking like we might actually see Republicans take the Senate. I am no fan of mail-in voting. I believe universal mail-in voting has created nothing but chaos and uncertainty, and I'm very critical of the Democrats for launching this, for pushing for it. And it's only because of mail-in voting that we even have this uncertainty that may end up backfiring on them. My gut feeling right now is that Trump may take legal victories in the courts. We might see a freeze in Pennsylvania where they can't call it or certify it. It then goes to the Supreme Court. I got to fly, sorry. It then goes to the Supreme Court. Trump ends up winning a legal battle where he wins the presidency, and then chaos ensues, I suppose. I know Trump supporters have said they're for this, but you've heard me say it now 3 times throughout the day. Forgive me for repeating myself in these segments. We're dealing with very, very direct breaking news, and a lot of people are coming to my segments without seeing the previous context. So it's a bit of a rough day in terms of news tracking, but let me just stress, a Biden win is not outside the realm of possibility. Moody's Analytics predicted this. I reported on this. We are seeing historical voter turnout. Some people are questioning the statistics. I'm seeing things that look strange, and that's why I believe let's investigate, let's audit, and make sure. I believe that will be fair, but I'm going to leave it there. The next segment is coming up at 6 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimCastNews. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.